So this video is really about my journey, right? From going to a point where I had no idea what I was doing, right, with my life. Absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, no plan. Right, I just declined a place at university to within a year and a half getting to a point where could make $5,000 in a week. I'd made over $15,000 in a month. And really how I managed to do that. Like that's what this video is about. So to kind of dive right in and go over the journey, right? The road to 15K per month at the age of 21. So as I said, I'm 21 now. When I started this journey, I was 19. Now the skill or how I actually managed to get to this point is through a business model known as high ticket sales. Now, just to clear up a few rumors straight away about high ticket sales, this is not a get rich quick scheme, right? This is, I'm sure you see lots of gurus online who tell you, you can make 10K from this within the next month, right? You could, but it's very unlikely that's going to happen, right? Very, very unlikely, right? This isn't something that's just going to fall into your lap. This does take time. It does take effort, and you have to be consistent, right? And you have to be willing to put in work to get to the point that I am now, right? I think that that's something that's very, very unclear when people think about getting into this space. So just to clear that rumor straight away and really dive into the raw, authentic journey that I've been on, no bullshit, no leaving anything out, right? Exactly how it happened. Let's dive in. So the journey really started straight out of school, right? And I was 18 when I left school, June 2022. And again, before I say anything else, I want to make it very, very clear that I did not have a bad childhood, right? I'm not going to try and claim one of these stories where I came from absolutely nothing and built my way up. I did to an extent, but that's not true, right? I'm not going to try and be one of these online gurus who tells one of these stories, right? I went to a great school, right? I played sport all my life, had great parents, I had a great group of friends. Like, my life has been very, very good, and I'm very, very fortunate to be in that position that I'm in now. And again, my whole aim with starting to post content, with starting to get into this space and working with people is I do want to be as transparent and as authentic as possible, which is why I don't want to leave out that information. So I left school, as I said, at 18. Leaving school, I did pretty well in my A-levels, all things considered. I got ABB, which was, it's pretty good. I had a place at Leeds University. The following year, September 23, that was locked in. So these are just some photos from my last day at school with a few of my mates. But straight out of school, decided to take a year off, which again, I'm super, super glad that I did that. So I took a year off and I went traveling with a few of my friends. So I traveled around South America for 4 months with my two best mates and my girlfriend at the time. And 100% that was one of the best things I did. And if you're coming out of school or uni or you're taking a career break, if you do that, it will open your mind to so much. It just gives you time to go away and think. Right, straight out of school, I was pretty set on going to uni. Right, if I hadn't taken that year off, I would have gone in. But on this trip, I really started to consider other options. I really started to think, okay, what do I actually want? Where do I actually want to go? Who do I want to be around? What kind of impact do I want to have? Right, and when you start asking yourself those questions, you really start to consider the decisions you're making, and that's exactly what I did with uni. So I went away. These are some photos. This is in Bolivia. Me and my two mates, we climbed up a mountain in Bolivia. This is me in Colombia as well. And at school, like I'd always been like entrepreneurial, right? And I know that sounds, everyone kind of claims that they did that and they sold sweets at school, which I did from a very young age. But even other things like NFTs, crypto, like I was always trying to make some sort of money. And most of the time I ended up losing money through those things. But I saw other people doing it, right? Even when we were traveling, like I saw people who were living that digital nomad lifestyle. They had that freedom. They're working from their laptops, and that is something that just appealed to me so much. I wanted it more than anything. I was so set on that idea after that trip that as soon as I came back, I just got stuck straight in. So again, like lots of people probably watching this, you see all these different gurus online, you see all these different business models from drop shipping to Amazon, and I myself was in the exact same shoes. Like, I had no idea what route to take. But again, it just linked back to uni. Like, I knew I didn't want to study a business degree. That's not what I wanted to do. So I was like, right, I need to find a way. I need to do something different here to allow myself to have a plan B. Like, I needed a plan B. So I came back from traveling. I got back to the UK April 2023. Again, at this point, I was like, uni is not for me. So I knew it wasn't something I wanted to do. So I had to come up with a plan of action. Right, I needed another way to make money. Otherwise, my parents, my friends would all think what was I doing, right? And myself included. Like, I needed another plan. So I came back and I decided to really just stop being a bitch, right? Just get straight into it. It gets to a point where you can watch as many YouTube videos as you want on different business models, but watching YouTube videos isn't going to make you any progress, right? And the key quote for that, for me, that I learned was, if you just read a book on how to read a car, then you're never going to learn, right? You have to actually get stuck in. You have to actually try something. So I came back and I thought, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start an Amazon FBA course. So I invested in a mentor, and I spent the next 3 months obsessed with it, right? I was going through the mentorship, finding a product to sell, and then I ended up launching a product later on that year in September 2023. Now, the course was great and I learned a lot and absolutely no regrets from doing it. The only problem with Amazon, the whole business model, is that you do need a pretty decent budget to get started. And it takes time to get to a point where you can make what I was classifying at the time as really good money, which was over 2K a month. That was like, if I can make 2K a month online, like, I'm sorted. I'm super happy with that. So I realized, right, the Amazon business isn't going to take off as quickly as I want, because naturally I didn't have a lot of money, so I couldn't invest loads. So I knew it was more long-term play. So I thought, right, I was a bit impatient, which sometimes is a bad thing, but in this case it was good. I was like, right, I need another plan. The Amazon business is ready to go. I don't really need to do too much more work on it, but I need another way to make money, right? Because this wasn't going to be the key one for me to get me to my goal. So mid-August, I came up with plan B, or you could say plan C, which was high ticket sales, right? So I saw an ad, probably very similar. Maybe you saw a video like this. I saw an ad from a guy who was claiming high ticket sales was super easy and you can make 10K a month. And I was like, yep, this sounds really good. I want to do it. So the plan was simple, right? I went in thinking, right, I'm going to scale the Amazon business. I'm going to focus on getting some cash from sales. I'm going to keep both ticking along. And yeah, that was the plan. So I invested the last bit of money that I had into a sales mentor, right? All the money I had at the time, it was $3,000. And I had to split it up across 3 months. You can see here, this was the transactions, just to again show that I'm not bullshitting. This is real, this is authentic. And it was all the money I had. You can see my balance after transactions was either just over £1,000 or under £1,000. So I did not have a lot of money to my name, but I knew if I wanted to get to a point where I knew what I was doing and I could make more money, I knew the quickest way to do that was to work with a mentor, which is exactly why I did it. And by the way, I worked with a great mentor. This person helped me a lot, and really helped me with my whole journey. So I invested, I got stuck in. Here's my first ever post, August 2023. Hey boys, my name's Ben. I'm 19 years old from Bristol. Very excited to be part of this group. Even more excited to get going. I work at a hotel part-time and also run a small Amazon business. My aim is to leave my hotel job and start doing sales full-time with my Amazon biz on the side. That was the plan. That was what I wanted. So we got stuck in and I started it. I started sales and I started going for it. Now, this is really where the eating shit phase began. Now, what is the eating shit phase, you may ask? This is, in my opinion, something that absolutely everyone needs to go through in order to get to a point where they can start succeeding with really anything in life. So my eating shit phase began in September 2023. And when I say eating shit phase, I mean going through a phase where nothing's going well. Nothing's going right. It's uncertain. You're not making money yet. You're working extremely hard and you're not getting the result that you want. But again, this is something that everyone has to go through, in my opinion. So September 2023, the Amazon product had launched and it was doing okay. I was making about 1K. I'd made about 1K a month in profit in September 2023, which again was great. Like I wasn't complaining. It was working. The business model works, but it wasn't enough. Like I knew I needed a faster way to make more cash, right? Or I was going to have to continue working at the hotel. I was going to have to take up more hours. You know, it was getting to a point now where I was getting the questions from the people around me. You know, what are you doing? You know, you're not going to uni. What are you going to do? Why aren't you going? You know, it's not too late to change your mind. You can always start the business after uni. You can always make money later on in life, right? Just take the safe route. Go to uni. And I so almost listened, right? And so I was so close. I was so close to going. It was on a knife's edge, honestly, whether I went or not. And if I can say to anyone who's feeling that way, you know, you feel like, right, I want to do something different. I know I don't want to do this anymore. I know I don't want to stay in my corporate sales job. I know I don't want to go to university. I know I don't want to stay in my 9 to 5. You know, I want to do something different, but you're just, you know, maybe you get drawn back in. Maybe the salary keeps you there. Maybe the listening to your peers around you telling you to stay and that it's not that bad. Like, you can't do that. You have to trust your gut. You have to go with your gut. And that was one of the big things for me, right? I trusted my gut and I went for it. I went with the risky option and I'm so glad that I did. But going back to that phase, right? Again, it's not easy, right? At that point in my life in September 2023, all my friends had gone to uni. They'd all gone off, and you can imagine Freshers Week, everyone was, you know, enjoying themselves. They were going out, they were drinking, they were having fun, meeting loads of new people, right? So everyone had left my hometown of Bristol. My girlfriend just split up with me. My girlfriend of 3 years had just dumped me, and she was off to uni, right? And I was living at home with my parents. I was working part-time at a hotel, and I was just spending every waking minute trying to get better at sales, trying so desperately hard to make this thing work, right? So here's a photo of me working on a tractor in the hotel that I used to work at. And to be honest, like, I'm not even going to try and say that I didn't enjoy it. Like, I had a great team, great people I worked for at the hotel, and it was fun. But obviously, I knew I wanted to do something bigger. I knew I wanted to have my own thing. I wanted to make more money, and key thing was I wanted that freedom. So this was the pinnacle, really, of that eating shit phase. And again, this is quite personal, but I want to be as authentic as possible with this whole brand and the YouTube channel and everything. So I vividly remember this was one of the worst times, right? I'd come downstairs. This was the morning after me and my girlfriend had split up. Obviously, no one was here. None of my friends were here. And I saw my dad. My dad was cooking breakfast, and I just broke down. I just burst into tears. And I was struggling. I was seriously struggling. I was doubting myself. Like, nothing was guaranteed at this point. And I just hit that point where nothing was going right, like I mentioned earlier. But I'm a big believer that everyone has to go through that. And I'm so glad I went through it, right? This is the exact thing you need to happen to you in order to get a different result. Right, the pinnacle of the eating shit phase, right, is a rite of passage, right? Everyone, like I'm saying on this, anyone who's trying to do something different, in order to get to a point where you can have location, financial and time freedom, it requires a level of sacrifice, right? It's not just going to happen. It's not just going to fall into your lap. Like, you have to do things differently to other people if you want to get a different result, right? And that was the thing that I learned from going through this, is that, yeah, times are going to be shit, but you need those shit times in order to then have the diamond, have the gold at the end, right? Have the gold at the end of the rainbow, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? You need to go through those shit times. So I just channeled everything into sales, right? I was working in sales. I was still working on the Amazon business, and the business was doing okay, but again, most of my attention was going towards the business, but I was struggling, right? As I said, it sounds cliche, and I know it does, but I had no other option. I had to make it work. I so badly wanted to, one, and I'll be honest, prove everyone wrong. Everyone who was telling me that I shouldn't do this, everyone who was telling me that this wasn't going to work, I wanted to prove them wrong. And I wanted so badly to get to a point where I could have that freedom, have that flexibility that I wanted. So yeah, I just put my head down and I worked, and this is the key photo that I just kept thinking about. Right, if I give up now, I'm so close. You're so much closer than you think. If you give up, you're obviously not. You're never going to get there. So you have to stay consistent. You have to keep going. And lo and behold, everything started going better. Right, after 2 months of grinding, I got to a point where I landed my first closing role. And just to mention as well, like previously, I had done a few other roles. I was setting for a social media marketing agency. I was also closing for a little bit as well, but these were small companies. I wasn't doing insane, but this was my first kind of big break. Was landing this closing role. It was with an Australian e-commerce company. And then I started getting the diamond. I started seeing results. I started getting the money that I wanted. I closed my first deal, my first week. It was a 2K USD deal with a guy called Isaac. I remember it very, very clearly. The call was about 45 minutes long, and I made 10% commission. I made $200, which at the time was 2 days of work for me at the hotel. And I had made that amount of money within 45 minutes. And yeah, it was amazing. I was extremely happy. I remember coming downstairs and speaking to my mum about it straight away. And then from there, everything just started to snowball. Right, the snowball effect was in full effect. I was still working extremely hard to get better and better. I hit 2.6k AUD in a week, which was November 23. Yeah, you can see here a little update. Offer I'm closing on took home 2.6k AUD in commissions, which is about 1.5k USD roughly. But again, at that time, this was ridiculous. I'd never thought I would get to this point, right? And it was a lot of money for me, and everything was beginning to work. Everything was beginning to fall into place. So all of that work that I'd put in from April to November was finally coming to fruition. And again, it just goes back to what I was saying. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a long-term thing. You have to go through that phase, but you then begin to reap the rewards. 3 months later, I hit 10,000 AUD, which is 6,000 US dollars in the month of January 2024. Here's the post that I made on Facebook talking about how I dove into the space in August, turned down my place, got all kinds of grief from friends and family, the amount of money. Again, just talking about it. You can read through it. But again, I really want to be authentic and show you, like, as I was going through it, what my thoughts, what my feelings were. So at that time, I wanted to travel, right? That was one of the main reasons I got into this. So I did, right? I started traveling around Spain and Germany with one of the guys I was working for at the time, and a fellow closer on the team. And I also took a step back from the job at the hotel, right? Mid-November, I quit that job and I went all in on sales. So here's some photos. So this is me and Will, one of the offer owners. Shout out Will, Aaron as well, Big Az. We were traveling for that month in January, which was awesome. And then 4 months after that, I was closing on another e-commerce offer alongside the Australian one. And I managed to do 10K USD in commissions that month. At the age of 20, and I was living out in Montenegro with one of the other closers on the team, and his name was Carter. So if you come down here, you can see, here's some photos. So Will and Carter, me and Carter there in Montenegro, and this is the post that I made when I finally hit it. And this was like a huge step for me. Like the idea of making 10K in a month was, I just didn't think it would happen. It was so far away in my head. I put it on such a pedestal, but then when I actually got there, I realized, right, there's so much opportunity here. Like, it is possible to be able to do this. And you know, if you're watching this and you're thinking, wow, like, the idea of me making 10K in a single month is just not real. I just don't think that would ever be able to happen. I'm here to tell you and say that, yeah, it's not easy, but you can definitely get there. There's absolutely nothing stopping you from getting to that point, right? And this is it here. This was the post I made. I continued to work both offers that summer. So from like May till September, I was doing consistently about 8 to 10K a month. And look, I was still living my life. Like, I was traveling. Like, this is one of the key things about this business model, is it does allow you to travel, right? The whole point of having a business or closing or doing anything like this is you want to take advantage of the flexibility that you have. You don't want to just be cooped up in your house doing nothing, right? Just working all day at your desk. Like, you want that freedom. You want to actually experience and do things, right? So I was going on trips. I was going on boys' trips. I went to Amsterdam. I went away with my family to Spain, and I was still keeping up 8 to 10K a month at that time. The offer owners I was on not the Australian offer, but the other one, they took me to Ibiza, right? Another awesome perk of this job. Like, if you work hard and you work for the right people, they will reward you, right? Not only was I making over 10K a month, they also took me out to Ibiza. We went away for the weekend. That was a reward that I got for being their top closer for the past 6 months straight. These are just some photos. That's me and the guys there after a few drinks. Me and another guy met out there who owns one of the biggest fitness. It's called SBD is the brand, and he's like an ambassador for them. I think he owns part of the business. Anyway, super nice guy, super cool guy. They had a penthouse suite in one of the nicest hotels in Ibiza, Ushuaia, which was just crazy. Like, it was just a crazy experience to go out there and do that. And again, this was all because of sales, right? I wouldn't have been able to do this if it wasn't for that. And as time goes on, things continue to get better, right? I moved out into my own place in September 2024. I don't know why I said winter. I hit 15K commissions in a month. I hit 5K in a week. Again, I've got photos here, proofs in the pudding, right? Here's transactions, me being sent £2,000 and 7.3K pounds on the same day, right? I was getting paid the money. I was achieving what I wanted to achieve. Then the biggest thing that I did was I took my mum away on holiday. One of the things that I wrote down, I've got a diary somewhere, I don't know where it is, but one of the big things I wanted to do was I wanted to take my mum away on a trip. And I managed to do that. Right, in January of 2025, I took my mum to Norway for a week, everything paid for by me, and that was a big moment for me. That was one of the biggest things that I wanted to do was do that. So it was it was a cool thing to be able to do. And at this point, I'm actually back in the UK now, but when I was writing this out, I was at a point where I've been living in Marbella now for the past 4 weeks. I lived in Marbella from mid-February to mid-March. I just got back from Rome. I spent 5 days in Rome, where I ran the marathon with a bunch of entrepreneurs who I also know, who I've met through this space. And I have the flexibility to be able to do that because I put in the work to learn the skill that has now allowed me to do that. I'm heading out to Bali for 1.5 months. Beginning of April, I'm going to Thailand with my family for a bit, and then I'm going out to Bali. And yeah, you can see the photos here. This is me running the marathon. This is me in Marbella, in Italy, Rome. Me with a few of the guys I know. Right, this is Joe. Joe runs an agency that does just under 100K a month. James also has his own business. Kian there as well. I think that might be Elliot in the background. But again, just people that I've met through learning this skill of sales. Right, killers, guys who are doing extremely well. And I've been able to network with them all through starting sales and getting into this space. Now, look, the big thing here is I don't want to gloat. Right? I want to show you the receipt because I want to show you that this is real and this is a lifestyle that I'm actually living, and I'm not one of these bullshit guys who is faking what he's doing. Right, I am doing this, right? But it does take sacrifice, right? If you sacrifice something, you will get results like this. Right, when I invested into my Amazon mentor, when I invested into my sales mentor, was I scared? Of course I was scared, right? I didn't have a clue what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know these guys. Was I going to lose my money? I didn't know whether they were going to scam me. Like, I had no idea whether it was going to work or not. But that's exactly why no one gets to where they want to go. That's exactly why, without trying to sound harsh, you're in a position where you're watching this video now on learning how to make money online. It's because you need to know and you need to realize, right, that the eating shit phase has to happen, right? It's part and parcel of achieving anything, right? Is high ticket sales easy? It's not easy, right? It takes time. It's not just going to fall into your lap. But if you're persistent, if you put in the work, then you will 100% get there, and you can do all of those things that I've just spoken about today. And really, you've got to consider this, like, what's the other option, right? For me, it was 3 years of regret. It was 3 years of studying a university degree I hated, getting drunk 3 times a week that I didn't want to do, knowing I was not being true to myself, right, and what I wanted, doing what I wanted to do, right? So genuinely sit down and ask yourself the question, like, what's riskier, giving sales a go, giving a business a go, starting something online, trying to make money online, and it completely fails and you lose a bit of time and you might lose a bit of money. Or you go down the other route, which deep down you know isn't for you. You let that fear of failure hold you back and keep you in the exact same spot. Now, look, I'm now in a position where I am helping others do the same, right? The same thing that I've done. I've gone from 0 to 15K a month in high ticket sales, right? I know what I'm doing. I know how it works, right? So what I will say to you, if you are one of those guys who, like myself, or girls like myself, knew they wanted more, right? You know you wanted to make money online. You know you wanted that flexibility. You know you wanted to be able to travel and do something different, right? Follow a different route, not go down the normal route, the normal job, the normal degree, the normal, corporate sales job, right? But and you knew you wanted something different, then message me, right? Drop me a message on Instagram. We can have a chat. We can see whether this is something that's going to make sense to you. And look, if you'd be genuinely a good fit for what I do and what we do. And if I don't think it is, then I'll let you know. And no hard feelings. But I hope this video has been of use, right? I hope you found it interesting. I hope that, again, the whole idea of making money online now isn't something that seems so foreign, so not possible. Because if it stays a pipe dream, you making 10K a month, if you continuously put 10K a month, you put 15K a month, you put traveling, making money online, if you continuously think it's not going to happen, it will not happen. You need to take it off the pedestal and realize that it is possible. You can do it, right? You can get to that point. So I hope you found this video useful. And if you have any questions, if you want to find out more, then drop me a message.